The Mariners lose their first series after the trade deadline. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the series analysis episode of the Seattle Baseline Podcast. My name is Alex, and I'm running solo here today. It's funny because me and Julian tried to record an episode together, but he's currently in like Sakura Lounge in Japan or something like that for Japan Airlines. So he's having some difficulties connecting to Wi-Fi and getting any connection. We tried recording, but it basically would have just been me talking the entire time because he was trying to connect. So we decided to just grab that and have me film. So yeah, he's having a lot of fun there, but he's coming back to the US, so it's cool. And it'll be really cool for us because we could finally record like at a reasonable time because we've been a little having some difficulties because we're in different time zones. So it's a little unfortunate there, but good to see him back soon, right? All right, guys. We got a lot of stuff to talk about with the viewers because there's a lot of stuff that happened since the filming of the last episode. One, the trade deadline ended, which we did acquire another player, which we'll talk about that. And we also had a quite underwhelming and disappointing series with the Tigers, and that needs a lot of discussion as well. Um, Let's start with the Taylor Ward incident in the trade deadline before we move on to the game because I'd rather talk about the Taylor Ward thing than what happened in that Tigers series. I think everyone can, kind of side and agree with me on that one. So, all right, let's get into the trade. So Taylor Ward, right, he was on the Orioles. We actually talked about him in one of the previous episodes as a potential trade target. So we ended up trading away Alex Hoppy, who did pitch a few in relief innings for us, and then a few minor leaguers in Brock Moore and Harrison Krelling, I think is how you say it, in exchange for Taylor Ward. And just for reference, Taylor Ward is going to be a rental. His contract is expiring at the end of this year. So in that regard, it's not like this is like a long-term move, like kind of like with the Randy thing a few years ago. So let's talk about what Taylor Ward brings to the table. And it's interesting because when he played for the Angels for so long, this is a completely different player this year than he played for the Angels. So first of all, when we think of Taylor Ward, at least when I do, right, especially as of recently, I think of a guy, he slugs pretty well. His average isn't too high, right? But he does a pretty good job slugging, right? He hit 36 home runs last year, which is quite a lot. But surprisingly enough, at this point of the year, Taylor Ward only has 7 home runs. So you might be thinking, wow, that's quite different. How did he make up that big drop in production in the home run? Well, that's because he's really improved his contact hitting. In fact, he has a completely dramatic shift, I think, in his batting approach. One thing I'll highlight is he's leading the league in walks, right, with 87, which is insane at the time of when I was looking at it. 87 walks, which is really, really good, right? This is a team that has been struggling with walks a little bit, I think, with the Mariners. So that's actually something I'm really excited about, getting more players on base. And he's really prioritized the on-base approach over the home run power in that way because his slugging has dropped. His slugging is 343, which is below his on-base percentage, which is actually really, really like kind of crazy to me how that even happened that way. But, you know, he's a player that actually played a little better, I think, at the start of the year and then kind of cooled off a bit. But his approach is something unique that I think he can bring something with the Mariners, right? We talked about needing a guy who can hit left-handed pitching. This is, in my opinion, the Rob Refsnyder replacement, as in he's bringing what Rob Refsnyder should have brought to the Mariners when we initially signed him, which obviously we got rid of Refsnyder, by the way, in fact, with making this move. He's basically an indirect replacement, but he's actually been succeeding this year. So against lefties, his OPS is 822, which is actually rather good. And against righties, he's actually been not very good with the 686. And specifically, you look at it, right? And I talked about how his slugging's a lot lower this year. His slugging is actually, I think, rather fine against lefties. It's just not as good against righties. So he's a guy that definitely can be, you know, it's not, I don't believe we're going to use Taylor Ward fully as a platoon, but it's someone who is able to do damage against lefties, which is something we've been struggling at all year, right? And with the resurgence of Dom Canzone's ability to hit lefties, right, that's great, but we've still been missing Like Luke Rayleigh can't really hit lefties every day. We have to throw a Ref Steiner in there, and it kind of ends up being a disaster. Victor Robles not playing that well. This is a guy who hopefully fits that hole the Mariners have. So that's kind of my analysis on Taylor Ward. This is not some extraordinary superstar. We didn't like trade for Aaron Judge or like a Tarek Skubal level hitter like the Dodgers did. We just got a guy who we didn't give up very much at all, but can fit a need, a hole that the Mariners have. That's how I view this signing. There isn't much else I have to say about Taylor Ward. He's a guy that I kind of like as a player because, like I said, the walks being him being good at walking, like his strikeout to walk ratio is very good. Um it's around, I believe, like 1.2 or something for strikeout to walk. So that's actually rather good. That's a lot better than some of our players we have. So something I'm looking forward to with Taylor Ward. And that wrapped up the trade deadline overall. We offloaded Luis Castillo, which was a benefit, right? We fixed that starting pitching rotation, and we got a bat that could help us fill a hole that we had. This was never going to be an incident in my eyes where we traded for a really, really super duper star in this case because the market kind of wasn't that strong. And obviously, this team isn't just that good right now. It's not playing that good, so it's not really justifiable to make a big move like that. But anyways, enough of that. I think we got to get to what everyone was thinking of, right? That first game happened. We made all these moves. This is the new team, new Mariners, right? Brendan Donovan's back, which is great to see. And we laid an egg. So we laid an egg in the first game. We lost the score by what Julian calls snowman to a donut, which means 8-0, right? Snowman like shaped like an eight, and then donut shaped like a zero. Yeah, he told me to say that. But yeah, just a terrible, terrible game. That game was actually so demoralizing to see because it's like, well, the Mariners made all these new additions. What can we do? And that happens, right? I remember I was talking to just one of this Mariners fans. He's a lot older. It's not like I knew him personally, but I met him around Issaquah, which is where I live. And essentially he was saying like, wow, I cannot believe like Sir Anthony Dominguez, we talked about him in the last episode, right? How he had some potential. That was not the outing to have for your first outing. That was about as bad as it gets. I've never seen something that bad. He couldn't even finish the inning, right? Um, and that's not even the biggest problem, right? Hancock had a decent start, went 6 innings, gave up 3 runs, but he gave up a lot of hits in there, which wasn't too great, right? And Sir Anthony Dominguez comes in a few innings later in the ninth, and I know the game is basically wrapped up at that point because the offense was so bad, which I'll talk about in a second. But then he just has a terrible outing, and I guarantee losing the confidence of a lot of Mariners fans. So that wasn't great to see. But we got to talk about this offense because that was a pitiful, terrible performance. We had 4 hits and 4 walks. That's it. That's all we did, and 0 extra base hits, right? Randy, Canzone, Julio, and Cal. Those are the only guys who got hits. I guess I'll give it to Cole Young. He got 2 walks, I believe, in that game. But ultimately, it was just a pitiful performance by the offense. That was actually so bad. I was like, wow, this team, thank God we didn't super duper buy because it just goes to show this team is just not very good. And we talked about how the Mariners, if they want to win, these players needs to step up, right? We need our players to play like we thought they were going to play. Clearly, that's not happening, right? It was just terrible. Nothing was going around. The Mariners didn't seem that excited either. It was just really demoralizing to see, right? Second game was a lot better. Brian Wu has an amazing start, like an amazing start. And then we almost I was worried we were gonna blow the game, in fact, because our bullpen once again, this is gonna be a major issue if we do somehow make the playoffs. Our bullpen's just not very good at all. Gabe Spire, Bizardo, they're giving up runs. Munoz had a good end there, but it's just like we can't trust our bullpen anymore, and it just sucks because I see talent on that bullpen, and I don't think we have like a full, like amazing bullpen like we did in 2022 and 2021, if you guys remember, where literally everyone we threw out there was dominating. We just don't have that team anymore. And it just sucks to see how, we have a start like that from Brian Wu, and somehow we're holding our breaths at the end of the game. The offense played decently. I'd say they played pretty good. Julio with a nice home run, good for him. Randy had Randy had a good game. I think Taylor Ward got a hit in that game. Yes, that was that game where Taylor Ward got a hit. So, good for him, I guess. First hit as a Mariner. But it's just demoralizing to see, like, the Mariners just not doing very well. And we weren't even like we weren't against a good pitcher either, right? And in the first game we're against Troy Melton, who I guess he's been playing well recently, but we made Troy Melton look like Tariq Skubal. And Tariq Skubal's not on their team anymore. That's just the part that I couldn't believe. I was like, these are not that good pitchers we're against, and we're just getting destroyed by them. It looks like we have no idea what's happening. It looks like we have no strategy on the plate. It's just really bad to see in that way. And we can't even take advantage of their bullpen, right? Troy Melton, okay, he's having a good game against us, but their bullpen, they're throwing out random guys afterwards because they're up so much and we still can't do anything. It's just really just, it just really makes me lose confidence in this team. Despite winning the second game, we won entirely basically based off of Julio's homer. And then I'd also credit Brian Wu for the start, and that was basically it. And the third game, that was yeah, we got a lot of things to talk about. Julian also told me to mention how he thought the snowman and the donut were bad, but the Mariners decided to hand them chopsticks because we lost 11 to nothing. And I know a lot of the runs were in garbage time because we had Victor Robles pitch. Even if you exclude that, the Tigers, it looked like they were a major league team and it looked like we were a AAA team. It looked like we were completely outclassed. We lost, what is it, 19 to nothing in the first and third game, and we had a total of, I believe, what, 11 hits, and they were all singles, by the way. There were none of the we had no homers, no doubles, no triples within that first and third game. It's just a disaster, like an utter disaster to see. We got some hits in that game, I guess, the last game, but the problem is we just don't chain them together to where they're useless hits. What's the point of getting to first base and the inning ends on the next out, right? That was pointless. That's the problem. I mean, the Mariners just can't seem to play cohesively to where they can string some runs together. Bryce Miller, we talked about, me and Julian, how Bryce Miller's been struggling lately. A big deal is with the velocity, right? And we were going to talk about this, I think, in the last episode, but we didn't have time to do so. But, Bryce Miller is just a guy who, at his peak, is really, really good. But the problem is he's so injury prone that if he pitches for such a big stretch, right? When he first started pitching, where he was playing amazing, he was throwing like 97 with his fastball. Now he's throwing like 95, and that drop in velocity, I'm very certain is correlating to his drop in performance because ever since his amazing start he's been rather kind of bad actually, or very mediocre. He can't get to the sixth inning. He hasn't got a quality start, I think, in a month or so. So, of all those starts he's made. He's just been really struggling out there, can't finish innings, can't go very long. And it sucks to see because I really like Bryce Miller, but it's just the reality of the situation is he's a guy we really can't overload. And I know we were flaming the piggyback, and there's many reasons why. The innings count on Bryce Miller is definitely something that needs to happen because and I don't even think we've been pushing Bryce Miller that much. It's just that he doesn't seem to have the capability of pitching all the way throughout the season. Because his velocity's dropped from when he first started, and then now he's giving up all these runs and all these hits. Yeah, it's definitely something I see that I'm really concerned about. But not even Bryce Miller's not even to blame in this game, to be honest, because our offense was terrible, like I said. I don't know what else. I can say about this team. On paper, it looks good. It's just not executing. And maybe we think too highly of these players. Maybe we thought too highly of Josh Naylor. We maybe thought too highly of Cal Raleigh. And, I don't even didn't even come into the season with the expectations of Cal Raleigh being as good as he was last year. I just thought he would be as good as he was in previous years, and he hasn't been that this year. Canzone's been a lot better than everyone's expected. Julio, we haven't seen that second half resurgence. And then, Cole Emerson, he's been kind of struggling. Cole Young's been a little better, I guess, than we thought. But I think we just severely overestimated this team because we can't do anything anymore. The trade deadline's over. And I'm sitting here watching this team get destroyed by a team that sold on the trade deadline. It's completely unacceptable to see. And, at the end of the year, we'll see what happens. But Dan Wilson needs to do a better job of rallying these troops because he's supposed to be like a player's guy. Like the players like love Dan Wilson. They're not playing like they love him right now. They're playing like, oh, this is just my boss. Let's just, it's like when you go to like any type of like retail job or like retail store, maybe like a fast food store, restaurant, the workers are like, oh, we don't really care. We're getting like probably minimum wage anyways. That's how it feels like they are. They're like, oh, I don't get paid enough to care. Now definitely getting paid a lot of money. So that's not the mentality, exact same mentality I'm going after. But it's a similar boat where it's like, oh, and what is Dan Wilson gonna do? He's not going to yell at me. I'll just do whatever I can. And I'm not saying all the players are like intentionally acting like that. But when you have a guy who's being a little too nice to the team, which is in Dan Wilson, I feel like you get results like that where it's like, oh, I'm not scared of this guy, right? And then you kind of just play like, however, and it kind of leads to results like that. So, we talked about Dan Wilson a lot, but it's not really someone I want to talk about in this episode. But those are some things I noticed. Yeah, and I mentioned this before in previous episode where I think the Mariners give up too easily. I don't even think we gave up too easily or gave up too early. We had the right to give up because I knew this team wasn't coming back. When we were down like 4 runs after the second inning. I was like, yep. And after I saw the bottom of the second inning, I said, yep, this is over. Like the Mariners aren't doing anything. We're getting completely steamrolled by Framber Valdez, who hasn't even been that good this year. He has like a 4 point something ERA, I think, and he went 7 innings, no runs. Troy Melton also went 7 innings, no runs. This is just completely unacceptable. I'm just, it's been a rough season and a tiring season to watch compared to last year. And oh my goodness, it's just been so bad. I don't know. I don't have much to say. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what I expected. I guess I expected at least something better after the trade deadline, but we have not gotten that. And the worrisome is, and we'll talk about the Rays series coming up. The Rays are a good team. The Yankees are a good team. We're against good teams coming up. This is going to be a massive issue, right? We had a weak July schedule and we lost basically all those series. And we just lost the series against the team that just sold at the deadline. So that's not going to build a lot of confidence for me. And I'm not going to be confident in this team. I got to see a lot before I get confident because they could produce one good series and the next series they go back down to earth. And they're sitting below 500 in a terrible division, but it looks like we're contributing to that division being terrible because we're not winning games, we're not winning series, and we got a losing record. Okay, let's talk about the Rays. They're a tough team. They're first in the AL East for a reason, mainly because they play a style of baseball that's very Tampa Bay Rays like, right? The Rays, they're never like a big name team like remember if like when in 2020 when they made the World Series, they didn't have too many star players. Like Randy Rosarena was kind of their star player and say Blake Snell too. Right? They didn't have too many big names, but they were a sneaky good team. The Rays are kind of like that this year too. The reason why they've been so good this year has been their offense approach is very good, and their team is good at it too. It was built to do this. They have a very small ball approach. They don't hit that many home runs. They don't do a lot of power, but they get on base often. They play good defense, and they have dominant pitching. Let's start with let's just start with the pitching per se. So we're gonna be against Drew Rasmussen, who's, you know, insane, right? He has a 2.91 ERA, but he has a whip under one. He has a 0.929 whip. I have him in fantasy, so I've been actually kind of loving this guy, ironically. But, he's really, really good at preventing runners from getting on base. His strikeout to walk ratio is 6.1, which is insane. Like, I genuinely couldn't believe that when I saw that. That's the highest in the league, by the way, by far, for a starting pitcher. So we got to watch out for him. And that's not even been their best pitcher based off ERA this year. Nick Martinez, who we're not going to be against this year or this year, so I'm not going to mention much with him, but he also has a 2.65 ERA. And, that kind of sums up the team, right? Just really, really good all around. Griffin Jacks, who we're going to be against, I believe, at some point in this series, he's been also really good. Like, they just got a very solid rotation. They got two starters who made the All-Star game. And if you look talent-wise with the pitchers, I think our starting pitchers are very comparable. So, you know, I'd say the top end wise, right? I think Martinez and Rasmussen have been a lot better than our top guys. But overall, I'd say the pitching, starting pitching is pretty good, right? For the Mariners and the Rays. But the problem is their bullpen's a lot better than ours, and that's a no-brainer. They had Brian Baker, who's an all-star, 32 saves, leads the league. Whip under one, ERA of 1.42. What else kind of do I need to say? Made the All-Star game as well. He's their closer. If we run into a situation where we're down heading into the ninth, we basically lost the game. That's how we to put it. We're not winning the game after that. So that's also something we got to look out for. They got some others good bullpen arms like Kevin Kelly, you know, but more or less, right, this Rays team, they pitch pretty well. And their offense backs them up too. Junior Caminero is having a great year at third base. I mean, my goodness, made the All-Star game. He has a 932 OPS. He's kind of really transformed himself this year. I always liked Junior Caminero. Last year he was pretty good too. I think he got MVP votes last year. He was actually pretty good, underrated for sure. And this year he's been playing above his head. Maybe not even above his head. He's just playing a lot better than he did last year, right? And there's just not much I can say. And he's kind of their guy who hits the home runs, right? I told you the Rays don't really hit the home run that many home runs. If someone does hit the home runs though, it's this guy. He has 33 homers of the year. No one else on the team has above 20 home runs. So that's kind of what I was saying, how this is a very small ball team, except for this guy. So we gotta be watch out for Junior Caminero. Gotta watch out for Yandy Diaz as well, another All-Star. A lot of the Rays made the All-Star, to be honest. Um, I could just keep listing names and names and names, and it's just like these players, they got players who play well together, right? They play small ball and they play small ball well. They chain hits together, and that's something the Mariners don't really do, right? The Mariners rely on power, and when they don't hit the home runs, they're useless. Um, we're not able to chain stuff together, or it seems like we just have it's like, if you get a hit every inning, right? That on paper looks okay because you got nine hits, probably score some runs. That's actually going to score you 0 runs. So we got to do a better job being able to take advantage of the mistakes, right? And the Rays don't make many mistakes. They're pretty good on defense. So we got to be able to take advantage of maybe a single mistake they do, maybe a wild pitch, maybe, a ball gets passed on someone in the infield, right? We have to take advantage because the Rays are a team that will take advantage. And the Mariners are very prone to making mistakes and playing sloppy baseball. We cannot do that because the Rays have a good team to take advantage of that. So that's kind of how I see the Rays series going. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really too confident heading into this series, but let us know how you're thinking. What did you feel about the trade deadline? How did you feel about the Tiger series that happened? And how do we beat the first place Tampa Bay Rays? Thank you everyone for tuning in. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our beautiful faces on YouTube. Uh, be sure to check out our Instagram, and as always, go Mariners.